Now, this is quite a story from NASA because for the second time in history, a man-made object has left our solar system. NASA is saying the Voyager 2 probe is now in a space between the stars after exiting the sun's protective bubble, which is called the heliosphere.
In the deep stillness beyond Neptune, in the long shadow cast by our sun's final breath, something moved and then stopped. It was not a spacecraft. It was not a comet. It was not natural. It pulsed, and it waited. The signal first appeared as background static on the New Polaris Array, a deep space observatory so sensitive it can detect a hydrogen atom drifting a billion miles away. At first, it was discarded, a faint, rhythmic blip buried beneath the cosmic microwave background. But as weeks passed, the anomaly persisted. Same pitch, same pattern, same pulse. Every 11.3 seconds. Exactly. It was too clean. Not interference. Not a pulsar. Not anything gravitationally induced. It was a broadcast. And it was coming from the Oort cloud, the edge of the edge. A region so distant and diffuse it's more theory than observation. It's where the solar system fades into stardust and stardust fades into oblivion. But now it's where the mystery begins. Before we go deeper, if this kind of story draws you in, consider subscribing. Share your thoughts below. And like the video so the signal finds more ears. We're listening together. The Polaris Array was built for something else entirely, an early warning system for rogue objects and long-period comets. A final line of defense against the unknown. But what it found wasn't moving toward us. It wasn't moving at all. Triangulation across multiple nodes confirmed it. The source of the signal was stationary, not drifting, not accelerating, fixed. That alone broke the model. Nothing in space is still, not over time, not across gravity. And yet this was. And then came the second pulse. Not stronger, but different. A harmonic offset, like a voice clearing its throat. The array logged the shift and flagged it. But what triggered real panic was this. The signal was being bounced back from space around it. A reflection. Something near the source, not just emitting, but structuring the energy. Interferometric modeling showed standing waves, like sound trapped in a chamber. There was geometry, shape. This was no rogue echo. It was an object. And it was built. When the team at the Deep Resonance Lab modeled the resonance chamber, the math pointed to a configuration impossible to explain naturally. An interwoven sphere layered with shells of reflective fields, each spaced at Fibonacci intervals. A structure not just built for durability, but for intention. And then one morning, the signal changed again. It wasn't louder. It was closer. Polaris recalculated. The signal was not increasing in strength, but more of it was being received. As though something had shifted the directionality. As though we were now the target. That shift triggered protocol escalation. Data was secured. Transmission logs encrypted. A meeting was called. And the question on every face was the same. Why us? Decades ago, the Voyager probes were our first hands reaching beyond the planets. But what Polaris had found wasn't responding to us. It wasn't drifting. It wasn't looking for us. It had been waiting. A fixed point, inert for what some estimates suggested could be millions of years, buried in the dark like a fossil in space. And now it had blinked. What shook the research team wasn't just the precision, it was the symbolism. Because the 11.3-second interval wasn't arbitrary. It matched the human alpha brainwave rhythm, the frequency of calm wakefulness. Not a natural stellar cycle, not a frequency of molecular resonance, but the rhythm of thinking. It was a hum like silence thinking. As decoding attempts began, the pulses were converted to audio. The result was unsettling. A low, oscillating tone with subtle modulation, too faint to be called melody, too complex to be dismissed as noise. Some likened it to whale song, others to breathing. A few refused to comment at all. And then, embedded deep in the waveform, came the third anomaly. A spike. Short. Compressed. Binary. It repeated only once. And it decoded into an image. It was simple. A dot, a line, and an arc. But the alignment matched a mathematical diagram Voyager had carried in its golden record, a representation of our solar system's layout in proportion to hydrogen spin. Had something remembered it? Or was this just our own image reflected back to us? Was it a reply or a memory? Governments were briefed. The signal was not made public, but the leaks were inevitable. And those who studied the raw pulse logs began finding fractal recursion, patterns that, when mapped over time, resembled known organic growth curves. This wasn't just communication. It was self-replication. The structure, whatever it was evolving in place. Not moving.
Not building.
Shifting. Like something waking up. Or preparing. And what disturbed analysts most was its location. Because the point of origin sits almost exactly on the outer rim of our sun's gravitational hold. As if it had been placed there. Why there?
Why now?
Why us? The outer rim of the solar system is not a line. It's a gravitational slope. A place where the sun's reach thins into insignificance. A place where comets hesitate, where light begins to forget us. The object, or whatever it is, rests there. Not orbiting. Not drifting.
Locked.
Like a seed that was planted, waiting. Engineers at the Polaris Array have stopped calling it a structure. They've started calling it the object. And their latest models suggest it is not only stable, it is self-correcting. Small deviations in signal strength due to solar wind interference are matched by micro-adjustments in pulse shape. It's reacting. Actively. Which means one thing. It knows it's being watched. Back on Earth, the data is now split between civilian observatories and classified networks. What's been made public is partial, waveform diagrams, stripped harmonic profiles, vague talk of non-natural origin. But within the deeper corridors of research, the true discussion has begun. A question that rewrites everything. Was this always here? Not built recently. Not launched.
Placed.
Like a lighthouse built before the ocean knew what ships were. And if so, then the implication is staggering. We didn't just find something new. We've finally noticed something that's been watching since before we were born. The object's geometry, modeled now in high resolution, reveals a layered symmetry. Not metallic. Not organic. Something in between. It reflects radio waves, but not in a specular way. Instead, it folds them, warps them, as though the space around it isn't quite real. One theoretical physicist, working with a private contractor, proposed that the object isn't emitting a signal at all. That what we're detecting is simply the vibration of space-time itself around it. Like a chime made of vacuum. And yet the frequency is too specific. Too familiar. It doesn't sound like randomness. It sounds like memory. The 11.3-second pulse continues, but a pattern has emerged. Every 101st pulse, there is a pause, followed by a sequence of 9 tighter bursts. Binary. Again. Decoded, they appear as a single variable equation. A looped recursive formula converging on a fractal curve known as the dragon boundary, a shape famous for its near-infinite complexity within a finite perimeter. This isn't just a signal. It's a signature. And some think it's not aimed at us. It's a beacon, a handshake, or a checkpoint, meant for something or someone else. In hushed meetings between agencies, an idea now circulates that just a year ago would have been ridiculed. What if the object isn't alien at all? What if it's ours? Not from our time, but from a time after. A relay sent back, or forward, to anchor something we've yet to build. An echo of our own future, written in symbols we don't yet understand. Time, after all, is not the obstacle we once thought it was. And space might not be the limit. Still, the object remains silent. No images. No movement. No heat. Just the pulse. The repetition.
The breath.
And inside that rhythm, one more detail was uncovered. Just weeks ago, researchers analyzing the amplitude variance between pulses found a modulation pattern that, when translated into spectrographic color curves, formed a shape. Not a symbol, not a glyph, a face, human, or nearly. Unmistakable symmetry.
Eyes.
Nose.
Jawline.
Stylized but present. A face made of light, drawn from radio. Impossible? Perhaps. Or perhaps not, if the object has learned what we look like. From the golden record. From deep space telescopes aimed outward for decades. From our own EM radiation leaking across the stars. What if it's been watching, and now it's reflecting us? Not because it wants to be known, but because it wants to be recognized. Is this communication or camouflage? Is the object broadcasting its presence or hiding within it? And are we the first to see it or the last? At the Polaris Control Center, a decision now looms. Do we send a message back? Do we acknowledge? Do we mirror the pulse? Do we alter it? Or do we remain silent? Some say the time for silence has passed, that not replying would be seen as ignorance or fear. Others say it is far too soon, because the object, for all its mystery, has done one thing unmistakably. It has waited, and that kind of patience is not human. Meanwhile, the pulse continues, unchanged, unfaltering, like a heartbeat in the dark, like a lighthouse blinking across an ocean older than time, like a question no one has yet dared to answer. We send out our machines to listen for something greater, but what we found may not be greater. It may be older, more still, more patient. If you've made it this far, you're part of the few still watching the dark. Leave a comment below. What do you think the object is? And would you answer it? Subscribe to stay close to this mystery. Like the video to keep the signal from going silent. We're not just watching the stars anymore. We're being watched back.